Okay. I'm making this video. I just made it home. I'm sorry, my voice is a little scratchy. I've been, those of you who know about praying and like really praying and getting into it, we tend to cry out to God in a certain kind of way people might not approve of. But when I pray, sometimes I just cry out. You know, I'm in my own home, so I'll cry out. I'll, kind of get out to God what I'm speaking of or speaking about. But I've been planning on making this video for a long time, but I think it's time. I noticed on YouTube there's a lot of you guys who made videos about gang stalking, stalking by proxy, narcissists who are responsible for the gang stalking. I'll call it. I went from gang stalking to the occult because that's what it is. It's an occult. It's a new age demonic satanic occult. A lot of you guys are going through things, attacks towards your body, your mind, your mental health. Those are demonic attacks by someone in that occult, if not all. I'm probably going to a little detail. I do have videos prior to this that I made that I haven't uploaded. I'm going to get those uploaded. But right now I feel like this video was kind of important to make. So I can go ahead and get this out to some of the people who are going through this and wondering what's going on. You have to understand that a lot of this, well, my situation, it comes from plain out jealousy. Jealousy that has set in someone's heart and mind and overtaken them to the point of envy. You got to understand envy and jealousy are two different things. Same, but different. Jealousy is kind of the surface of things. Envy goes beneath the surface. It enters your heart, it enters your soul to the point of a deep hatred and the renting of a space in that person's mind. Envy is an obsession. It becomes an obsession. And I'm going to tell you what I experienced. I moved back to Texas probably June 25th, 2021. So I've been back here 21, June 22, about a year. This year in June of 23 will be 2 years. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia. I was dating this guy, and there were a lot of red flags that I didn't pay attention to. Stuff that I had been through before in relationships, but at this point of time, with my choice to follow God and walk with God, I should have took those red flags seriously. A lot of us don't know that a lot of people that we deal with, you don't know the skeletons in their closet. You don't know who this side chick is, what she's possessed with, or this side man, those of you women who are dating and have a side dude. You don't know what these people possess and what they're capable of mentally. You don't know what type of impression you have on people when you are who you are. And that's another subject, but I'm going to get down to this. I was in Georgia dating this guy. I'll mention names later. Right now, their names are not important. I was in Georgia dating this guy. I had met him 2017. At that time, I had began cleaning my credit 2016. By the time I met him at the end of 2017, I had moved into my own apartment. Not knowing the whole time, this guy pursued me for 3 months before I even answered the phone. He kept blowing me up, kept calling, not excessively, but enough to kind of get my attention and be like, oh, wait, hold up. Maybe he is lonely and maybe he is looking for somebody. Even though I wasn't at the time, I was on my track with God. I just turned to God and just trying to do something new in my life because I was tired of living the old way, tired of clubs, tired of drinking, just tired of a lot. And I had already made a promise to God years before that by the time I'm 40, I would dedicate my life to him. Make a long story short, as him and I began to date, the end of 2017, 2018 came, I say about a month and a half, 2 months later, actually, month and a half, 2 months later, I began to get phone calls on my phone. Just out the blue phone calls. And they would call and hang up. Right then and there, I knew that either he had somebody that he was dealing with, a side chick, or something, but I knew they were attached to him. At this time, I ignored the calls, but toward the end, I think after about 2 months, I figured out it was probably a side chick that could only get his number if he were laying up next to them or out somewhere and she got hold of his phone. I texted and said, yeah, he stays with me probably about 3 months after the calls because I got tired of it. Time passed, and of course, his behavior changed, which was evidence that in his behavior that this same person that was calling me 9 times out of 10 was the same person that he was dealing with, having sex with, side chick, I don't know. But of course, all men lie. And upon what he told me, he wasn't in the relationship. I had been to his house. We had been in a situation where we were coming up together, both cleaning our credit. He got his first credit card, got his first car by job. A lot of us back in the day, we didn't get our first car by job. We hustled and stuff like that, but that's a different story. Anyway, this person he was dealing with, I started putting 2 and 2 together. She began to see him come up, develop more, financially, saving his money, got his car. Because at the time I met him, he was driving his mom's car. Please don't even ask me why I even stopped to date someone like that. I wasn't even interested in nobody at the time. It was like a pure, I don't know, I can't even explain it. But at this time, I was not as deep as into God, but I was into God. I was listening to this preacher preach. We would talk about God, and I had told him, hey, this is who I am. I read the Bible. I don't listen to secular music. I don't do this. I just cut a lot of stuff out. And it was important for him to understand who he was dealing with. Make a long story short, I knew that who he was dealing with, seeing his actions change for the better. What I didn't know at the time is she was wondering who this person, who I was, that came along and started changing this man for the better. Only a little bit, not a whole lot. Make a long story short, we kind of grew apart. He had got to the point to where he would live with me but not settle. And at that time, I had liked him very much, probably loved him, wasn't in love with him, but probably loved him. And at that time, me being alone in Georgia, I kind of felt like he was a go-to person, somebody I could depend on to not really get me around in Georgia, but somebody I could depend on to have fun with once I got situated all the way in Georgia as far as my finances, because mind you, I was cleaning my credit. My credit was like a 430 or a 5 or something like that, which dropped from a 6 after my divorce before I left Texas. Anyway, make a long story short, time passed and I could see things changing him. Time passed and I could see we would have arguments and fight. I had begun to change for God, but not all the way, because I still had things in me where, ladies, we know when our man cheat, we want to fight. I was older than him by 10 years, but I felt like you pursued me. You knew what you were getting into. You wanted to commit to a relationship, but I told you I didn't. Now I want to commit into a relationship. You want to play games, just back and forth. Not only was I falling back into toxic ways from past relationships, I had also seen those toxic ways redevelop toward him. And of course, he was toxic. Because what I didn't know at that time is that side chick, the one who was calling my phone, whatever she was, side chick, someone who he had sex with, I don't know what it was. But I can only see what it was as the time with him, who she was, through him and his actions. Anyway, make a long story short, every payday he would disappear. Every payday he would disappear for lunch. I began to put 2 and 2 together. He had evidence off of his GPS that he had parked on some side road. I had put 2 and 2 together. He was dealing with, I kind of believe that it was someone he was dealing with before he met me. She had just kind of curved him off because she had her own man, or she was doing her own thing with other men in the streets. I'm going to say dudes, because real men out here don't even put up with stuff like this. So I'm going to say dudes. Anyway, make a long story short. As time went by, we had several problems. As time went by, I could see clearly what he was dealing with. As time went by, I could also see when her and him argued, he bragged about me. I could tell this by a text one day in 2018 or the beginning of 19. When we were having problems, he came over or came home, whatever you want to call it. I had his phone. She texted his phone. I'm like, who is this? He didn't say nothing. She texted. She was like, what you doing? I figured she knew where he was. I know she knew where he was. But to be drama and messy, she wanted to really reach out and say something to me so she could try to put me on this list that she had ready. You get what I mean? All of this is hindsight 2020. She text, what you doing? I text back, why? She texts back, LOL, like she knew who I was. And she goes, oh, I'm not worried about you. He won't be there long, blah, blah, blah. Right then, I could tell by that conversation he had, her response right there had opened up a whole door of who he really was and what he was really about. But I was ready for a fight because I cared for him and I loved him. I wouldn't say exactly ready for a fight, but I was ready for a fight because this chick had texted my phone way before any of this went down. Been calling my phone. I'm talking about from Baby Carter's store in the mall, some child's school in Smyrna, Georgia. Just all of this, what she started from day one. Instead of being a woman and texting me and saying, hey, can I have a conversation with you? I got your number out of his phone. That would have opened up a door. But let me tell you how chicks love drama. Toxic women love toxic females because a woman don't carry herself like that. Okay. I guess for me, I was kind of tug of war between the old me and the new me. The old me was fighting from him and was toxic. The new me was cleaning up my life, finding God. So I was kind of in a tug of war, but God kept telling me to let him go. He wasn't no good. But the old me was going to fight for him like the old me always did in relationships. Anyway, make a long story short, next thing you know, in 2019, I didn't know, but my emails were hacked. My phone was hacked. And I hadn't put two and two together yet. But at the jobs I was working at, because I was staying in Austell, Georgia, just a few blocks up is Lithia Springs. Just a few blocks the other way is Marietta. And just a few blocks the other way is Smyrna, Georgia. So I lived probably about 5 minutes from him when I stayed from him. He stayed with his mother, or me and his mother, whatever you want to call it. I felt like he wanted to stay with his mother so he could stay with other women. Yes, he paid rent. Yes, he paid bills. I wasn't a fool. We were there for each other. We were a good team as far as him being sane when he wasn't with her or when we wasn't having problems. Because what she meant when she first started calling my phone, she knew she was going to go into battle against me behind this man that she didn't even really want. Anyway, in 2019, before a little bit at the end of 2018, going into 2019, he would come to the house. His behavior was just, he would bring an energy in there that would just make me so weak. Like all my energy would leave out of him. And I knew that energy wasn't from him. I knew whatever he was dealing with had some stuff on her. I didn't know what I know now about her, but then I knew he was dealing with somebody who was no good. Why I did not get out of it, I do not know. I wasn't all the way into my discernment, but God was still molding me as far as being in this situationship with him. I could see her through him, what she was about. Prostituting behavior, tricking behavior, 3 and 4 men. I could tell because when I met him, he blew up my phone as if said he wasn't with nobody, said he wasn't in a relationship, and I believe it. That's how I know she was a side thing, side piece connected with somebody else, and he couldn't really have her like he wanted to. Anyway, make a long story short, he would come to the house just depleted of his energies, just depleted, heartbroken sometimes, but I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't, paying attention to all of everything. But I can guarantee you if I wasn't connected to him as much as I was, I could have. He was just a soul tie. Ladies, we're going to talk about soul ties later on. Make a long story short, I would have problems on my jobs out of people for no reason. Follow me to the bathroom, make comments, sit and stare. That was the beginning of gang stalking. Like I say, I didn't know at the time, but about a year later in 2020, I was being followed. I didn't pay no attention to it. But one particular person was following me. It wasn't the girl he was dealing with. It was either one of her friends or one of the ones that was in the occult, in the gang stalking occult. I would leave his house to go to work. There was this particular car that would come on the street rushing every morning. Now that hindsight is 2020, somebody on his street, if not through the phones, would tell them when I'm leaving. Every day I would leave. This car would come, shoo. Light-skinned girl about my color, maybe a little bit, tad bit lighter, with a little girl in the back seat, a silver Nissan Sentra. I seen this for about a week straight. Never, ever, as long as I've been dealing with him since 2017 and been to his mom's house, have I ever seen that car. I'll make a long story short. One particular day in 2020, about the end of September, November, I said, I'm going to make sure I'm not tripping. I was on Veterans Memorial Street in Atlanta, Georgia, in Lithia Springs. And a particular car was behind me, about two cars, maybe about 20 car spaces behind, but I could see those lights turning everywhere I went. And I said, I'm going to make sure I'm not tripping, because I've been noticing something for a while. This is 2020, about October. I made a right on the street, hurried up and parked behind a laundromat, where that particular car didn't see me turn. They ended up turning on a cul-de-sac. While I'm parked behind the laundromat, I'm looking. I say, either this car lived on that street or I'm tripping. I pulled on the street. Lo and behold, that car was right there, ready to come out. And so I come on, bust the U, and this car, boom, blew their horn as if they were angry that I turned down there or I scared them. So I leave out. They leave out behind me. I make a left back on Veterans Memorial from by a laundromat. That car pulled up beside me. I got in the far right lane. That car pulled up beside me. I raised down all my windows. Let them know I'm by myself. She raised down all her windows. Guess who it was? The chick in the Nissan Sentra with the little girl in the back. And she had this little girl in the back seat of this white SUV. I still got the license plate written down right to this day. She raised down all four windows. I say, do you know me from somewhere? What do you follow me for? Don't you know this type of stuff can get you killed? Can get anybody killed? And you got your baby in the car? She reached for her glove compartment. I stopped my brakes. Let her know, you ain't the only one pack no heat. They didn't stop making iron when you start packing. I was just upset. I was frustrated. Who do you think you are? That was the beginning. I didn't know, but that was the beginning of me noticing being followed. I made a police report that night. Didn't know my phones were hacked. Police called me the next day, say, oh, that car traced back to nothing. I said, okay. Mind you, this is the whole trip of Gangstalked. This is why I'm telling you this. Every time, while I'm telling you this story, while I'm telling you every police officer said nothing turned out to nothing, understand, all of them are involved. I'm finna take you down a rabbit hole. I'm finna show you something. So, after that, next day on my birthday, or 2 days after, or a couple of days after that, October 12th, of course, I didn't celebrate my birthday. I'm working hard, trying to clean up my credit. My sister had came down there. We got into it. She started acting strange. Y'all know about family members involved in this stuff now. Pay attention. She ended up leaving the motel and going somewhere else, I think Norcross or something like that. I don't know. I got up, went to get me some wings is what I had a taste for. I had been asleep all day. Got up, went to get me some wings. Busted a U, got ready to make a right into a store, gas station on, mind you, I was being followed the whole time. Got ready to make a right into a store on, what's this street? I think it was MLK. Ran into Lithia Springs, whatever you call it, Austell, Georgia. As soon as I got ready to make the right into the store, I hit my brakes, of course. I waited about 5 seconds, didn't see not one car. Got ready to make the right into the store. Here come a car out of nowhere, a van. Boom, no lights on. 4 people in a van. I had a witness, a white male. Oh, I seen everything when they hit me. While I'm making the right, when they hit me, My car turned all the way around and ended up facing back the way I was faced before I turned left into the gas station. They kept going. I can only look back a quick second to see that if they kept going. White guy come out of nowhere. I had seen that white guy when I had busted a U to go back to the gas station. I seen that white guy. Oh, I seen everything. Blah, blah, blah. It was 4 guys in a van. They kept on going. They went that way. Hey, let me help you. I take pictures of your car. By that time, the fire truck had came so quick. They came quicker than the police. Pay attention. They came quicker than the cops did. I want to say the police station, the fire department. I can't remember in that area where they was, but they might have been pretty close. I'm not sure. But I can definitely find out. Make a long story short, about maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes, the police come. But hold on. Hindsight 2020. The side chick, I had already seen her like 2 times before. Parked in front of my apartments in a red Dodge Charger, an older model. About a 2007, 8, 9, red with tint. And I seen her coming out of these apartments that the guy I was dealing with used to hang at across the street from my apartments. She had her windows down, cracking her knuckles like she was upset about something, looking for him. I know she was looking for him because I was calling him and he didn't answer. What she wanted was some money. That's what she wanted. And he didn't have it to give it to her. So like a coward, he was hiding. He didn't even answer the phone for me. That's why I went across the street in the apartments looking for him in the first place. Before I could turn around, I was going in the apartment. She was coming out. Before I could turn around and catch up with her, she shot off. Because I knew she had been in my apartments. A couple of months before that, around 2019, somebody had texted his phone or my phone. But this is what she said. She said, "Man, girl, I done effed all over your floor." That's what we were arguing about. It was through a text. She would never talk on the phone. She's been a coward since the beginning. She's been a coward since she's called my phone for no reason in the beginning instead of coming like a woman. Anyway, make a long story short, I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay, you got to excuse me. I'm kind of getting ready for bed. Okay, you got to excuse me. I was kind of getting ready for bed, washing my face and stuff, but I'm going to finish this story. Where was I? I can't remember where I was. I think I was at the wreck or something like that. After the wreck, how the police came 20 minutes later. Make a long story short, they didn't give me a police report. They wouldn't take the report of the witness. Had I known what I knew now, I knew it was a scam, but I was all over the place. Mind you, my car was totaled. No car is going 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour, and it's going to total a Dodge Charger. I did have full coverage. Somebody knew I had full coverage, and my insurance ended up paying them out. And I know they paid them between $20,000 and $30,000 out, and that money was divided. How I know? Because this is a world of scams, period. Make a long story short, after that, I tried to make a police report about the girl that followed me and just tried to tell him, hey, the girl followed me and I had a wreck the next day. Because I ended up calling and make another police report after the wreck. To no avail, nothing came about it. I ended up getting a detective. They ended up sending that to family violence. But anyway, make a long story short, I knew in my spirit something wasn't right. Make a long story short, my insurance ended up paying for my car. It left me like over, I ended up getting like 1,800. I found a car for like 1,100. Make a long story short, I could not get the title to that car for the longest. Or did I have no, I had the title but couldn't get it. Something happened. To what I had to go to up there like every day. I ended up filing for lost title. And by the time that came about, my sister was leaving from Atlanta, Georgia to go to Washington. I'm missing parts of the story, but I get back to that later because I was harassed at a company where I worked for called Shippers Group. Her family members work there now, and I was harassed. I got statements and documents from there. I got proof. Still got the email from the temporary agency where I work for them for. I mean, I got all this, everything I've been through, I have a paper trail and evidence for. Mind you, make a long story short, that was February 21 when I decided to leave Georgia after the accident and after being stalked and followed. After that accident, when I got that new car, I was stalked and followed horrendously. I even made a police report, and I have that police report on paper as well. When I was going down a street coming from where I lived at, and a guy pulled a gun on me in his car. I made a police report on that. I wasn't scared. I was mad. I was like, you cowards. I had been in situations, this is in Georgia, where I'm on the highway going to work or a side of town to see a friend, where a car would get on this side, and get in front of me and try to surround me. And I'm writing down license plates, taking pictures. I'm like, move, I'm aggressive. I'm aggressive on the highway. Like, you don't have no punk over here. You know, I was just so ready to just go in, you know. I had a couple of friends who had got pistols for me. Two of them were older friends, and I did not know what I know now. I did not know what was going on. I did not know nothing about gang stalking. I didn't know nothing about a narcissist that's jealous. I didn't know nothing about this. But I knew it all revolved from her. I didn't know what it was. I thought she had this little clique out for revenge. And even then, I hadn't put two all together that it was her. But I knew she had something to do with that car wreck. Back to the car wreck. Boldly, when the fireman was taking my blood pressure, she pulled up at the car wreck and turned around and parked right at the gas station, which was like far left to me. And the gas station lights barely worked, so they were dark, and she sat there and watched. If that ain't a narcissist Jezebel spirit, baby, let me tell you. You want to know evil and wicked and a witch and witchcraft? Let me finish this story. Anyway, I'm going to skip up to when I left Washington. Preparing to leave, when I left Atlanta, Georgia to go to Washington with my sister. Preparing to leave from Georgia, I ended up talking to my mom, how she was saying my sister was going to Washington. Maybe I should go to get a better start and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sure, I really don't have nothing in here anyway. I made my sister end up getting a U-Haul, going half on a U-Haul, but really not half. I paid like $1,200 for the U-Haul. My sister paid like $100. Mind you, I had money saved up. The U-Haul for gas to get from Georgia to Washington was $600. I paid that. My sister and I wasn't getting along the way. She was just different. Let me tell you, people, when you change your life for the better to walk with God, people see something in you that they don't. Do your research. Chosen ones. everybody will turn on you. Everybody. Those who are possessed with evil intentions and jealousy and hatred and who don't have the love of God in their heart will turn on you. You cannot tell me, I don't care if you my sister, my mother, my brother, that you got the love of God in your heart. If you going to turn on somebody that's not the same. And let me tell you, when we first got in that U-Haul on our way to Washington, after telling my sister and my family that I had changed, she got up in a U-Haul and put on Mary J. Blige. That was to test, to see where my spirit was or where my walk was with God, but it was very disrespectful. She had a jealous spirit in her as if she was somebody from back in the day that I knew on the streets that didn't like. This is my blood sister. I could already tell months before she even got to Georgia. I would text her, my mom, and say, hey, I made another point on my credit. Mind you, I haven't seen them in like 6-7 years. I'm thinking since we all come from a background of no good credit, struggling, this and that, I wasn't doing it to put into their faces. I was proud of myself. And hey, you are my family. You be supposed to be like, good, that's what's up. I know I would have. But their intentions were different. They had something in them that I've never seen before. They had some. You want to see the real people change. You want to see how the true self of people, who they truly are, change your life for the better. Those who stick around will bless him. Those who don't, there you go. That's what it was. I didn't know much about narcissists then like I do now. But hindsight 2020, I don't know who was the narcissist and who was the flying monkey, my mother or my sister. Probably both. But I remember down through the years of conversations I had on the phone with my mother while I was in Georgia, and then turning around and talking to my sister weeks and months later, her making comments like, you gotta help people in your own family before you help strangers. And it just blew me off because I remember having a conversation. I don't mean to get off the subject. I remember having a conversation with my mother when I was in the Salvation Army in Georgia, how I ended up talking to this lady who was thinking about committing suicide, and we had ended up talking, and I was telling her how the lady was in tears and how she said that she was about to kill herself and something. That was the conversation I had with my mother. Mind you, I'm just having a regular conversation about my experiences with my mother. I had no idea that God was working through me, working on these people through me, or talking to these people through me. I had no idea. But having a conversation with my mother must have made her feel some type of way before you to go to talk to my sister about what I talked to you about. And then her tell me, you have to help people in your family before you can help anybody else. And now that hindsight is 2020, I wish I could have that conversation so I can be like, B? Oh, excuse me. I wouldn't say that word. Maybe I wouldn't. So I can be like, what? Even the Holy Scriptures say, even your own family don't even, you are not, a prophet is not welcome in his own home, in his own country. And you got the nerve to open your mouth. That was pure jealousy. So at this point, I knew, now what I know now, my mother was a narcissist, a competitive narcissist that smiled in my face. And I went to Georgia to them. When I went to Georgia to them, I had no plans of going to Georgia and giving my life to God. How did my mother know? It's like they were just waiting to see God blessed me. So obviously they knew something about me and God that I didn't know. You get what I mean? Anyway, back to the road trip to Washington. On my way there, them people followed us, believe it or not, all the way from Georgia, all the way to Washington, to Tacoma, Washington. My sister didn't know what to look for. We even got into a fight about it, but I can see every car switch up, every new car come. We had a particular diesel follow us all the way there, all the way there. Every truck stop we pulled up to, that diesel stopped. I'm keeping an eye on this. Come on now. I want y'all to Google monitoring spirits. I want y'all to Google targeted individuals, but Google monitoring spirits and take notes. Some of us have been monitored since birth. Some of us has been, our parents talked into getting abortions with us. The devil is slick. The devil is slick. That's why the Holy Scriptures say, be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. Sometimes the devil may know more about you than you know about yourself. And what he'll do is he'll work through your family. And you not even know what's going on. Hold on. I had to stop and say a quick prayer, y'all. I have bullets coming through the window. I'll explain that to y'all later. But anyway, yeah, that diesel followed us all the way from Georgia. I wouldn't say exactly from Georgia, but a state, a good 3 states before we got to Washington. I watched this whole thing. By the end of, after the wreck I had in 2020, I had just began to be watchful. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna make this short. I'm gonna do a part 2 and a part 3. Like I said, that diesel followed us all the way from Washington, at least 3 states back. We were followed tremendously. My sister's so wrapped up in stuff she don't know nothing that's going on, but I had studied so much about a lot of stuff when I was married to this military guy before I even went to Georgia. I read a lot. I researched a lot on a lot of things that probably 75, 85% of us don't even know about that goes on in this world. So I understood a lot around me. I understood and I knew the things that were going on wasn't normal, that had come from something else. I'm gonna make this short because my phone is about to go dead. Yeah, that they followed us all the way to Washington. Once I got to Washington, on our way, me and my sister had an argument. I was so frustrated. I ended up emptying a bottle of water on her. I was just so frustrated, but it was the devil in her, working against me, Anyway, make a long story short, I ended up going to a shelter. She called her son on the phone and told him, don't let me stay. He had his own place and his son's mother had her own place. And they were living in one. She told her son, don't let me stay. I ended up going to a shelter, which I didn't mind, got me a job, ended up saving about $7,000. Moved out the shelter after like a couple of weeks to a month in Tacoma, Washington. Rented a room from this lady. About June of 21, I end up leaving Washington. On the bus, I shipped everything I had down here to my grandmother's house in Killeen, Texas. While through this process of everything going on, I had somebody stalk me back and forth. And guess what? Guess who came to Washington? In a maroon Honda Accord. You guessed it. You guessed it. I didn't see her face per se, but I knew the car she was in with the Georgia tag. For you to come up to, wasn't a million years somebody in a maroon Honda Accord that I seen in Georgia, just around the neighborhood, will be in Washington at the same exact shelter I was at with a Georgia tag. So I was also gang stalked in Washington. In Washington is when I really began to research and look stuff up and really know what was going on. And I found the websites and information about gang stalking that I never knew existed. I didn't know about a narcissist until I got down here and started researching. June, July, August, sometime around 2021 is when I started doing a little bit more research and I ran across narcissists. Narcissists rule the world. Know who we dealing with. I'm going to end right now and do part 2 later on. Oh yeah, all praises to the Most High. I thank God for this day. Y'all say y'all prayers before y'all go to sleep tonight. The one and only Most High God protects us all. Know who you are. If you are called or chosen by God, you need to research and dig deep. Get in them holy scriptures and pray. You are chosen for a reason. The war is spiritual. It's between good and evil. Choose whose side you are on, because it's a real war. I'll do part 2 later, and once after part 2 or part 3, depending on how long this story goes, I'm going to break down a whole lot of more stuff to y'all that y'all don't even know about.